Hello everyone, welcome back to Shred Guitar in the 80s. Today's going to be a fun one for me. I'm going to cover Warren Demartini from Ratt again. I recently did one and had a lot of fun, so I thought I would do a couple more. And this is the first part of a two-part one that I'm doing on the Invasion of Your Privacy album. It was a year after Ratt released their first debut album. This album just became an immediate favorite of mine, and I was just blown away by Warren Demartini's guitar playing. And I just listened to this album constantly and just loved every song on it. So there I was watching MTV, and one day I heard this. And I was just blown away. And the song was You're in Love and was off their new album, Invasion of Your Privacy. So I rushed out and bought this album, and it was all I listened to that summer. It was this and Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force and probably Loudness, Thunder in the East. Those were the big ones for me in the year 1985 off the top of my head. The cool thing about that riff, I noticed right away, was that it was D-tuned. It was drop D, which at the time there weren't a whole lot of bands doing that, and it really reminded me of It instantly reminded me of Unchained by Van Halen. It had that same vibe and kind of tone, and I loved it instantly. Every time the video would come on, I would just check out Warren. He always looked so cool. Warren was one of those guitar players that you just wished you could look like when you played. And the cool thing about the song, it had a really cool hook where Warren went like... That lick just really stuck out to me. It was just one of the big hooks of the song. And when I figured the riff out, it had the unison bends. Then he did this little 16th note figure. Kind of based out of like a D minor pentatonic, but he ends on the major third and kind of bends it up. And that's a tricky little lick because you're starting with an upstroke on the downbeat. One thing that I did was I just hammered the notes to feel the motion. So that really helped me. Then I just threw the pick notes in. And then when I heard the main solo, I was floored. It was so melodic, and he did some cool little scale things in between. It was a little different than what he did on Out of the Cellar. It was a little more constructed. He starts out with a really cool bend, and then he goes into that mixolydian run that we did last time. Then he comes down and plays this really cool phrase. This little bend at the fifth position. Then he does another nice phrase. Then he comes up and he does a little variation of that first lick. And that's just straight down the D minor pentatonic scale with a little bend to start on the end. And then he plays this really cool lick that goes like this. What he's doing there is he's playing 8 hammer to 10, 12 on the 5th string, back to the 8 on the 4th. Then he does 16 note triplets, 8, 10, 12 on the 5th string, right back to that 4th string. So that would be. Then you're going to hammer to 10, go back and hit 12 on the 5th string, and then go 8, 10, up, down, then hammer to 12. So you get. Then on the 3rd string with your 1st finger, with an upstroke, you'll play 10. Then you're going to go back and hit the 4th string 12th fret. Then you're going to skip to the 2nd string with your 2nd finger. Do a little half step bend at that 10th fret. And then. And then he goes into this cool riff. And that looks slow as. Just a great solo. I love that one. Another way that Warren influenced me was his use of the Seymour Duncan JB pickup. That was his favorite pickup, and he used it in all of his guitars back in the 80s. I'm just a huge fan of it. It came stock in this 1986 Kramer Beretta of mine. And then subsequently I went out and bought a bunch and stuck them in all my guitars. I have used different humbuckers, and I have different humbuckers in some of my other guitars, but that JB, Seymour Duncan JB, is just a reliable pickup, and I can't say enough about it. I love that pickup. In an upcoming episode of Shred Guitar in the 80s, we're going to look at another song from Invasion of Your Privacy. I should be posting that one pretty soon, so if you like this, please look for it. Today's CD pick is a really fun one. It's Furious George by George Lynch. This actually came out on Shrapnel Records in the early 2000s, and it has a really amazing vocal performance from Kelly Keeling on this. They just redo a bunch of classic rock songs like Space Station No. 5, All on the Watchtower, a really cool version of Storebringer by Deep Purple, I Ain't Superstitious, You Shook Me. Just a really killer album, and George is just blazing on this album and just filling every single space with some amazing guitar work. He's playing really bluesy and really kind of that snaky bluesy kind of feel that he has. I really love this album. I used to listen to it constantly when it first came out, and I hadn't heard it in a while, and I was going through my CDs and pulled it out and played it and was just amazed at how good it still is. Like I said, the vocal performance on this is just amazing. I love his voice, and combined with George's guitar, it just makes for a wonderful release. Mike Varney put this out with Shrapnel Records. They did one with Jakey Lee also. I think it was called Retraced, if I'm not mistaken. But this one right here is my favorite one. It's just amazing. So if you haven't heard this, check it out. It's George Lynch, Furious George, and it's on Shrapnel Records. Well, thanks a lot for joining me today. I just had a blast covering Warren's playing. Warren's just an awesome player, and I think he's really underrated. If you like this, please like and subscribe to my channel. I plan on covering a lot more Warren, a lot more of other players from that genre, like Yngwie, Tony McAlpine, Vinnie Moore, Paul Gilbert. You know, just a who's who of guitar players from that era that I loved. And if you have liked and subscribed to my channel, thank you. And I hope you guys are doing well. Stay safe, and thanks for hanging out with me, and have fun picking.